Dumba Jumden de Jamba da Jumba Yandaba Zobe Sanje Tikwa Dan Shamsu Demba Dewara Jeba Jiden Jeba Jebun Galo Jorwa Lana Meva Lada Menam Je Demba Sanje Jumden de Bejawa Shaja Tuba La Chaze Lo Chudo Jaso Je ho damba jomden de jin xiaoba ta jomba yang da ban zo be san je ri ban zhao zu damba da wa ra jia ba jin jian ba jie bu de be ga lu jor wa la na me ba la da me nam je damba san je jomden de be jia wa sha ja tu ba la cha ze Chudo Jazo Che Ho Damba Jumden de Jin Xiaoba Ta Jomba Yanda Ban Zobe Sanje Rigwa Dan Jazo Damba Dewa Xiaoba Jiden Jemba Jebo Debe Kalu Gyurwa Lana Meba Lada Menam Je Dumba Sanje Jumden de Pejawa Shaja Tuba La Jazer Chudo Jazo Che Ho Sanje Chudan Soje Chonama Chanju Pado Tane Jazo Che Tagi Chushi Jebe Sonamanje Jola Benje Sanje Jobara Sho Sanje Chodan Soje Chonamala Chanju Bado Tane Jaso Che Tagi Chushi Jebe Sonamanje Jola Benje Sanje Jobara Sho Sanje Chodan Soje Chonamala Chanju Bado Tane Jaso Che Dagi Chushi Jebe Sonamanje Jola Benje Sanje Jobara Shos. Hey! Good morning to everyone and welcome to our final class of the first semester of 2025. So we have already reached the final class of the first semester. So it is time. I don't know how many classes we had in this semester, but I think at least we have 5 or 6 classes. And we have gone through at least hundreds of is it 100? We are already at 120. So now we have to ask ourselves, from all these 120 stanzas, what did we take away from all this? How did that hours of, I think you have to silence this all the way. Yeah, so all that investment, all that commitment, hours of your time spent on listening, so how did that affect your Dharma practice in general, and how did it positively affect your life? Because unlike other lectures, Dharma talks are supposed to make some kind of positive impact in our life, in our lives. So I leave it to you to to examine. So so far we have been talking about the method to cultivate, to develop Bodhicitta, which is the essential core or the main ingredient to produce enlightened mind. Without developing bodhicitta, mind of this bodhicitta, there is no way we can achieve enlightenment. So in order to become Buddha, we have to develop this mind. So as we discussed before, there are two methods, commonly known two methods. So we are discussing the Shantideva's way, Shantideva's method, which is about exchanging our attitudes. These two attitudes, the attitude of cherishing ourselves and cherishing of others. So until now, shall I say until now, in our past life, from the countless past lives that we have taken to until now, it is obvious that we have emphasized on self-cherishing. We have prioritized self-cherishing and kind of ignored others. So Shantideva is saying that this kind of attitude, if we continue to adopt self-cherishing as more important, there is no way that we can progress in the Mahayana path. The only way to progress in the Mahayana path is to develop bodhicitta. So that is through exchanging oneself with others. So when we say exchanging oneself with others, we are not physically making any exchanges. It is the attitude. We are replacing our usual attitude of cherishing ourselves and ignoring others. So now we need to replace that with cherishing with others instead of ours. So we have discussed about the benefits and why it is important. So in the last class, we discussed about how this is possible. It is not something not unfeasible or not that we cannot achieve. This is something we can achieve if we put effort, if we habituate ourselves in generating that attitude. Not only it is possible, one of the benefits is that once we are able to practice in that way, then all the kind deeds of helping others will ensue. It will come naturally. And not only these will come naturally, we will not feel kind of self-importance or kind of arrogance or kind of boastfulness for being in health, being able to offer help. Because this kind of helping others, this kind of kind gestures come from realizing others' kindness as well as realizing the benefit of cherishing others and the downfalls or the disadvantages of cherishing oneself. So because you see that in a way, in a sense, it is really for your self-interest. That's why His Holiness always says that if you want to be selfish, then be a wise selfish. So you are fulfilling your self goals. You are benefiting yourselves by prioritizing others' concern, others' welfare. Because of that, we don't feel what you call kind of boastful. And not only that, whether it involves anything, any kind in return or not, instead of asking what's in for me, instead of expecting something in return, we will still engage in helping others. But of course, we are accustomed in this tendency, this way of putting so much importance to ourselves, our interest. It is difficult to certainly change that. So Shantideva acknowledges that it is not easy, but Shantideva says it's not impossible. It is all, at the moment it seems very difficult because we are not habituated, we are not accustomed to doing that. Once we become more familiar, once we repeatedly engage in that, then it becomes easier. And then there will come a time where it becomes like our second nature. It becomes like our habit. Without effort, this arises. So Shantideva advises that we should start, even though we should not ignore or undermine something small acts. It says that normally the fire starts with small. If you want to start a big fire, you have to first start with a small and then let it grow. Likewise, we should start from easy ones. So I think what we can do here is that, as I mentioned before, try with your family circle, your loved ones. It would be much easier to start there and then try to extend from there. At the moment, we face challenges, even to extend that to our loved ones. As I mentioned before, that all our rules and all these disputes, arguments, quarrels, qualms, all this arises from cherishing ourselves. We fail to give importance to others' concern, others' view. Because of that, all these problems arise. So we have difficulty even exchanging this kind of attitude with our loved ones. And if we find difficulty with our loved ones, then not to mention extending that to strangers and even to our enemies. However, if we start from the circles of our loved ones, and then slowly expand and extend this attitude, then one day we will be able to do so. And Bodhisattva's practices all the 6 perfections, especially the practice of generosity. So there are different levels. In terms of bhumi, we call it 10 bhumis. So Bodhisattvas who achieve or who are at the first bhumi, so they kind of perfected. They're kind of very advanced. They become very advanced in the practice of generosity. So at that stage, they have no difficulty even sacrificing their life. If somebody comes to ask for your head, they will have no hesitation. But whereas those bodhisattvas who are lower in terms of their realization, let's say those who have just obtained or reached the path of accumulation, it is not easy. So the reason or the difference why a bodhisattva at a lower level cannot and one who are at the higher level could do is because of their practice, because of their being able to accustom to do. So the point here Shantideva is making is that it is all about familiarization. It is all about accustoming ourselves to that particular practice. The more we engage, the more we contemplate, the more we meditate, it becomes easier. That, as I mentioned before, we can tell from our day-to-day life. Even driving to a new place, it is quite difficult. Even with the GPS, you get lost. Some people go in circles. During Shawachuji Rinpoche's visit here, somebody chauffeured Rinpoche around. And then one time they had to go to visit somebody's house. And I was later told that it took the driver so long to get to that place. He kept missing the turns. And then coming home, Rinpoche's attendant told me that he made at least 3 circles at my house. So I think that 4th time, I think he couldn't keep silent. He said, hey, we have already made, 3 circumambulations. So imagine. So even these so trivial things, you need familiarity. And once you become familiar, it's like you don't need, first of all, you don't need GPS. I can now drive to Modern State, where Drupa Monastery is, without using GPS. Of course, the first several trips I have to. So now it becomes so easy. So this all illustrates the point that, illustrates the importance of really repeatedly engaging in our practice. And especially this one, it's really worthwhile practice. That's why Shantideva says, thus, whoever wishes to quickly afford protection to both himself and other beings should practice the holy secret the exchanging of self for others. So recently, I think it's last week, I participated in this panel discussion on the topic of death and dying. And one of the follow-up question was, how can one live a good life? Living well. What do you mean by? Because my slide, my presentation ended by saying that to die well, in order to die well, one needs to live well. So the follow-up question is, what do you mean by to live well? So at that time, I just fumbled some words. But later I thought about it and I was like, why didn't I think about Shantideva's this practice, exchanging of self for others? So if we are really able to do this practice, if we are able to switch or swap that attitude, exchange that attitude, instead of treating ourselves so important, if we are able to treat others more important, it will be completely different. Your life, I can see that it will be completely different. And all this practice of morality is all based on non-harm. Even the Buddhists, the main contact of Buddhists is called non-violence or non-harm. Non-harm, this practice of non-harm, if you have this concern for others, it is not possible to harm others, to inflict harm on others. So thereby preventing all these non-virtues. So 10 non-virtue, refraining from all these 10 non-virtues, are mainly to avoid harm to others. Obviously, the physical ones, it's obvious. Killing, we can see that it will harm. It will inflict physical harm and pain. And stealing, it will harm others. When you steal other people's things, of course it will cause harm to others. It will cause so much pain and suffering. And then sexual misconduct is so painful for the other party. It's kind of a betrayal. And then the speech, non-virtue, the non-virtuous, full non-virtuous speech. These are all to harm others. Lying. Who likes to be told lies? Nobody likes that. Harsh speech. And then mind all this. So at that time, it didn't come to my mind about this. And later when I thought about it, it's like, we don't need to do many practices. If we seriously practice this exchanging of self with others, that is enough. This can prevent so many virtuous acts, and this will also push us to do so many good things for others. Because this is like, we would do because we want all the good things to happen, and we would do, or we would strive to achieve those good things to us. So now it's like you have completely changed. Your priority, your focus is all shifted on others' welfare and others' concern. So you will try your best in making others experience joy and happiness. So it's like all the time, on the one hand, you are being thwarted or prevented from engaging in negative actions, the actions that cause harm to others. On the other side, you are propelled to do all the kind things. So if that is not living well, then what is it? What is it? So when you contemplate more deeply, or contemplate deeper in this Shantideva's teachings, then you realize that it is not just mere word. Here it says, whoever wishes to quickly afford protections to both himself and other beings. So if we are able to refrain from all the negative actions, of course you are protecting yourselves from falling into the abyss of these lower realms. And even this life, you are protecting yourself from having lots of enemies, because you are always careful not to engage in verbal actions or physical actions or mental actions that can harm cause to others. So there's less likelihood of you creating or having friction with other people. So thereby reduces your enemies or reduces those who don't like you. And therefore you are protected. And because you are all the time kind and always being helpful, you are well liked. So wherever you go, everybody becomes your friend. Whether it be at your home, whether it be at your workplace, whether even it be outside in a grocery shopping, everywhere you will be happy to go. You will be welcomed. So we have been going to a nearby grocery shop, and there was this cashier. She was so kind, so sweet. And we look forward to seeing her every time we go to do marketing. So that's what happens. If you are kind, if you are able to reduce even a certain degree of importance that you prescribe to yourself, it will be different. Others' view, others' perception of you will change in a positive way. So that's what we want, isn't it? We do things to display or to showcase ourselves as a good person, as a kind person, a friendly person. If we really want to do that, then yeah, just practice this, and then you don't have to contrive. It will come, automatically. So anyway, in order to cultivate this mindset, it is important to contemplate on the benefits of cherishing others and also understand the downfalls, the disadvantages of cherishing ourselves. So now Shantideva goes through, illustrate some points on these two attitudes. So here, the following line, the stanzas are to illustrate the point that self-cherishing is the cause of all fears and also cause of all the negativities. So the first one, ta lu kan la cha wa yi jigne chung la jig ge wa jigwa ge we lu te la su shi ta shin tang me ches. So when we talk about exchanging oneself with others, so the meaning here is that we have been cherishing ourselves and neglecting others. So now we should switch that. Instead of cherishing others, we have to cherish ourselves. Instead of cherishing our body, we have to cherish others' body. So when you interpret that way, so one may think that that's very difficult to do, because I am so attached to my body. My body is so precious to me. How can I neglect my body and instead take care of others' body? So here Shantideva was saying that your attachment is wrongly placed. Your body is not precious. Your body, in a sense, cause of all your fears. Because of attachment to my body, even a small object of fear frightens me. Why we are scared? First of all, the fear when we have to walk in the forest alone. We say, I'm scared, I'm afraid to walk in the jungle alone. Why? Because you worry that there will be some wild animals attacking you. There will be, thugs or robbers or all kinds of predators lurking in the jungle, waiting to pounce on you and then harm your body. So Shantideva was saying, if we don't, that arises from our attachment to our body, our life. If we don't have that attachment, there's no room for fear. The relationship between our attachment and our fear is easy to understand. For example, if you bought a brand new car, you will be very, very careful where you park your car, how you drive, compared to you driving an old rusty car. If your car is an old one, you don't care. You will park anywhere space is available. I think I mentioned to you that I have a friend who drives this BMW that, I think BMW X5 or something. So one time we drove to a shop, and then there was a parking spot near the entrance, and the person didn't park there. I said that there's parking. He said, oh, I cannot park here. I have to park at the right corner because the people, then it's safer. If I park to all this one, then there's risk of being scratched. So you see, because of this attachment, even there's a tiny scratch, wow. If you have a new car, I don't think you will park outside that long. When there's even a sign of a rain, wow, quickly must park inside. But you won't do that. You don't do that for your old car. So this is all about attachment. You have more attachment to your new car compared to that poor old car. So people who are so attached to their body, some little things that kind of harms the body, they get so angry. Whereas if you have not a strong attachment to your body or anything, then it's okay. So that's why they're saying, because of attachment to my body, even a small object of fear frightens me. Even your own shadow can frighten you. So who would not revile as an enemy this body that gives rise to fear? So of course, in terms of small fear, like what we discussed before earlier, but then because of attachment to our body, it can create a bigger fear. Because of attachment to our body, we may engage in negativities or negative karmas that can result in negative consequences. So who would not revile as an enemy this body that gives rise to fear? So we consider another person our enemy. Why? Because that person causes harm. That person instills fear in us. So that's why we don't like that person. That's why we view that person, perceive that person as our enemies. So if we apply that logic to our body, which is the cause of all the fears, then Shantideva will say, why would not? Who would not? Who would not be averted to a body that is cause of all fears? Makes sense, isn't it? Lugang che tang komso ne sobe choga che dobe chadang nyadang rida ta sobra che jing lamguk ches. Not only our attachment to our body is the source of all fears, but it also propels us to commit all kinds of negative actions. By wishing for a means to remedy the hunger, thirst, and sickness of the body, I might kill birds, fish, and deer, and loiter by the sides of roads to rob others. So we spend so much money taking care of our body. And I was researching about the cosmetic markets, how much they make money. It is interesting. The statistic is interesting. It says that in 2024, U.S. cosmetic market generated $20.13 billion in revenue. And 24% of that revenue is from cosmetic procedures. In Korea, it's very popular. People spend so much money just to preserve their look. And how popular these anti-wrinkle creams, whether it works or not, but people pay a bomb for these creams or ointments to remove wrinkles, to prevent wrinkles. All these are attachment. So in terms of money, we spend so much money. And then I think in some countries they have this what is called exotic foods in order to revitalize your body, in order to preserve your body. They engage in these exotic foods. One such example is a very cruel way of eating monkey's brain. The monkey is tied to a table, and they just cut open the skull, and people just fish the brain out. So these are so cruel. Not only these are negative actions, but the way of committing negative karma is so cruel. Remember when we talk about heaviness of karma, one criteria is how cruel the karma is. Even though in terms of taking life is same, but the way you take it, with so much torture, if one takes someone's life, that is more heavy than just taking a life. So we do all this in the name of preserving our body. And by doing so, we commit negative actions that will land us in an unfavorable conditions for years to come. So that's why, even though we don't realize that our attachment to our body, because of the body, we develop attachment. And because of that attachment, we create so many negativities, heavy karmas, that will kind of ruin our future lives. So in that sense, our body, or should I say attachment to our body, is a much worse enemy than the conventional enemy. Because the conventional enemy cannot do so much harm. Remember when Shantideva compares conventional enemy with afflictive emotions, all these negative thoughts. One reason it says that the enemies, they don't have all the time to destroy us. They have to do their own things. 8 hours they have to sleep, and they have to go to work, and only whenever they have time they may think about how to harm us. But whereas the afflictive emotions that reside within us are there for 24 hours, all the time maneuvering its moves to cause harm. Sometimes it will pretend, it will appear as your friend. If they appear as your enemy, of course, we may have we may able to kind of prevent them, but they reside within us as if they were a great friend. That's how they deceive us. And then we just listen to them. You get angry, okay, I get angry. You say nasty things, okay, I will do so. And that's how we create negative karmas. So here the point Shantideva is trying to tell us that when we feel that, oh, I cannot do this, my body is too precious to ignore. So then think through these, contemplate these lines, these points, and bring your own examples, and then try to reach at a conclusion or a conviction that it is not worth being so attached to my own body. So this is what is meant by analytical meditation. So these points are not just for reading or reciting or memorizing or just explaining. These points are to help us in our contemplation, in our analytical meditation. You think through the lines and then try to reach a conclusion, conviction that, yes, it is not worth being so attached to our body because it is an object of all the fears, all the negative karma. Because of this body, attachment within us arises. And because of the attachment, we commit or we engage in all kinds of negative actions. And eventually, we suffer. 강시 개당 림드칠 파다 마양 쇠지지 군조숨지 꼬르규네 데니 나르메 세 gyurnas. Not only we kill birds and fish and other animals, if for the sake of its profit and comfort, I would kill even my father and mother. We hear stories about these unfortunate incidents. People fight over wealth. 가신 강시 계단 림드칠 파다 마양 쇠지지 군조 숨지 꼬르규네 데니 나르메 세교나. In the name of preserving our body, so we engage in all these kind of actions, and steal the property of the triple gems, then I would undoubtedly proceed to burn in the flames of the deepest hell. So the consequences is to suffer in the future. So these are additional points. Keba sushik narme sek gyurna keba sushik lu tela dojing sungdang chuji ki dela sushik tashindu tawra meji nye meji is. So therefore, what wise man would desire, protect, and venerate this body, who would not scorn it and regard it as an enemy? I think it's self-explanatory. So now from here, so now the benefits. So still we are talking about the disadvantages as well as advantages. So it will come. If I give this gyalde china chi cheche dadun semban deyisu gyalde china chi chinche shendun sembal hayi choose. So because of self-cherishing attitude, so when it comes to giving, we have this, if I give this, what shall I have left to enjoy? That's the main thing, isn't it? People want to do all kinds of charity, but there's always this caution. If I give, then I won't have. And I mentioned this before, even volunteer service. People realize there is such a good thing to do, such a meritorious activity to volunteer for a good cause. But then, if I go there, I lose my Sunday. I have only one day off, and then if I go to spend the day volunteering at a charitable place, then I won't have my Sunday off. My off day is gone. So this is always the case. We want to do something, but then there's something that prevents us. This is all, Shantideva, is all because of self-cherishing. Because we have this self-cherishing attitude, it always, I become so important. If I do this for him, I will lose it. I will not have it. So if we are able to remove that I factor, then there's nothing to prevent you from engaging in these meritorious actions, these charitable actions. If I give this, what shall I left to enjoy? Such selfish thinking is the way of ghosts. Ghosts, are we ghosts? From the Shantideva's view, we are all ghosts now. If I enjoy this, what shall I have left to give? So this is what we should have. It's like if I eat this, there's a story of a king. I guess the king must have become so poor or something. At one stage, it's like he has one morsel or something. He's already weak and is like dying. And then instead of eating, he said that I will die anyway. So eating this, consuming this, whatever food, little food he has, will not really prevent him from dying. So I might as well give it to somebody else. And because of this self-cherishing, so why people face poverty is because of this self-cherishing attitude. In the first place, because of this, if I give, and sometimes it's like people who have millions of dollars. Let's say if somebody has 100 millions, if they give 1 million, is like, oh, if I give 1 million, then I'm short of 1 million to 100. So saying that, in the first place, people who face poverty is because of that attitude. Because of that attitude, one failed to engage in the practice of generosity. As a result, one experiences poverty in their subsequent life. This is very interesting. This is from Sutra. So one time Buddha said that if sentient beings, if ordinary people were able to see the benefit of practicing generosity as I see, he said, then people would be Tona kamgi che jangs chimbra chebes sour mitavos. People would be even willing to give even a half of the morsel of food they have, and they wouldn't want to eat for themselves. They want to give it, even if it is a half a morsel. So what Buddha is saying, that people don't realize the positive consequences or the result or the benefit of giving. If they were able to see the benefits that I see, because Buddha could see all the benefits, Buddha could explain, like if I am to give, let's say, $1 to somebody else, Buddha would be able to tell me the results, the benefits of that in detail. So because of Buddha's omniscient mind, Buddha could see the benefits of giving. But we ordinary people don't see. We only we live in this instant culture, so we want instant gratification. Even if we give with good heart and there's no real appreciation, we are not happy. We need instant gratification. So we were kind of spoiled. That's why, I think it's in the American culture or the Western culture, there's this saying thank you, thank you, thank you. So Tibetan culture is a bit different. If your family members give you gifts, we don't really say thank you, because it's a bit awkward to say thank you to somebody who is so close to you. Whereas over here, whoever you are, if you receive anything, you have to say thank you. Even if you don't like, you say, oh, this is so good, I like it, thank you very much. Because the other person get offended. I think I told you this story, I shared this story one time. I didn't know the culture. Somebody came to me and gave me a gift. And we Tibetans don't open the gift in front of the person because it's considered very rude So I didn't open. I said, oh, thank you. And I just gave. And then he went on and went on. And he was hoping and waiting for me to open it. And then, wow, the result show my wonderment and amazement and how great all this. I'm not being ungrateful, but I'm just saying. And I didn't know. I was just going, and he's waiting. And I think eventually, yeah, he couldn't what do you call it? Wait. So he said, open, open, open. So, then I realized, he has been waiting for me to open. So I opened, it's so nice and thank you. So he was happy. So that's what it is. We are so, what do you call, habituated or spoiled by something in return. We wanted at a minimum somebody to say, oh, this is so good, so nice, thank you. When that doesn't happen, we are not happy. So this is also coming from self-cherishing attitude. If we don't have that, if our main concern is to really help the other person, then no matter whether there is acknowledgement or not, we will be so happy by just the fact that we are able to provide some help. That's what this is about. If I give this, what shall I have left to enjoy? Such selfish thinking is the way of ghosts. If I enjoy this, what shall I have left to give? Such selfish thinking is a quality of gods. So this I think can be interpreted, ghosts and God can be interpreted different. I mean, one interpretation can be this, that if we are able, if we have this attitude that if I enjoy this, what shall I have left to give? So if we are able to have this kind of attitude, we are more likely to engage in practice of generosity. We will be able to give more, help more. As a result, we will have abundance in our next life, which the gods have. That's one of their characteristics, that to have abundance of wealth and whatever they want. So it's easily found. One doesn't have to struggle to have things. Just think about it and all this appears. On the other hand, if we have this attitude that if I give this, what shall I will have left to enjoy? So that will prevent us from engaging in the practice of generosity. So this way, the consequences is that we may be born in the realm of hungry ghosts, where we struggle, where we suffer from thirst and hunger. Even if we are able to achieve human rebirth, then as a what you call the Gyudungedevu, as a result concordant to our action or cause, one will suffer in terms of scarce resources. So literally is poverty. So it is like a ghost way. Tajir shenla nöjena nyela sobor tuma jurus. So when our life, our action is governed by this self-attitude, self-cherishing attitude, then we are more likely to harm others. And as a result, if for my own sake I cause harm to others, I shall be tormented in hellish realms. But if for the sake of others I cause harm to myself, I shall acquire all that is magnificent. A man who couldn't swim sacrificed his life to save a boy from drowning. So we have these people who display such a selfless action, acts of selfishness, acts of cherishing for others. So like this person, nobody knows of this person until then. And then after that, everybody knows. I mean, at that time, everybody knows. And people have respect for that person. So this is all, you can see the differences between an action that is propelled by self-cherishing attitude and one that is propelled by other cherishing attitude. So these are the stark differences. Tajiri shenla nöchena nyela soba tongaju, shenjiri tala nöchena pyusun soba tamje tops. For the sake of others, I cause harm to myself, I shall acquire all that is magnificent. Okay, so Tani towar döba deis, nyendro nyenda lembar jorus, tani shenla pochena, tendro rimdru towar jorus. By holding myself in high esteem, I shall find myself in unpleasant realms, ugly and stupid. So, with a self-cherishing attitude, if somebody has this strong sense of self-cherishing attitude, then there is likelihood that that person will be more arrogant, that person thinks so highly of himself, and others are object of what you call that, denigration. So when that happens, of course, the consequences is unpleasant. And His Holiness very often says that when His Holiness meets people, His Holiness views anybody equal as him, as the same human being. His Holiness says that he never thinks that I am His Holiness the Dalai Lama and they are ordinary people. And his reason is that if His Holiness perceive him as great Dalai Lama, then he says that there's only one Dalai Lama and he will be left alone. He will feel this loneliness because there's only one great Dalai Lama. Whereas if you view yourself as part of human being, one of the human beings, then you are surrounded by fellow human beings. And His Holiness is recognized all over the world because of his humility. Despite his fame, he's always humble, down to earth. There's not even an iota of arrogance. So this comes from practicing this, exchanging oneself with others. His Holiness' main priority is concern for others, caring for others, putting others before himself. And because of that attitude, because of that practice, because of that commitment, whether His Holiness asks for fame or anything, he becomes more famous. People automatically generate faith and respect. But should this attitude be shifted to others, I shall acquire honor in a joyful realm. So these are talking about the consequences. But in our life, in this life, we can see the differences. And people who are narcissists, they don't get respect. Nobody respects them. It becomes a laughing stock. In front, they may say nice things, but at the back, what kind of things they say about that particular person. So this stems from these two different attitudes, adopting two different attitudes. 타게 된도 셴거나 tenlasoba nyongwaju, shenge dendo taje na jebenyi so nyongwaju rus. So Mother Teresa, most people know about Mother Teresa. It's not because she's a big, movie stars or some other things. She's not even a billionaire or anything. But she is well known because of her selfishness. Selflessness, is it? Selfish. Non-selfish, is it? Anyway, is working for others. If I employ others for my own purposes, I myself shall experience servitude. You became like a servant. Whereas, if I use myself for the sake of others, I shall experience only lordliness. One becomes famous even though you are not seeking for fame. One becomes respected. One earns respect. People respect you without demanding for respect. So in that sense, the lesson we should take is that if we really want, if we are really seeking fame, respect, and all that, then the only way to secure that is through serving for others, working for the sake of others, cherishing others. So in the end, to summarize all this, jigden tawa chinye ba tigun shenden dwele chung, jigden tunye chinye ba tigun rangden dwele chung. This is such a famous quote. It's frequently cited quote. Whatever joy there is in this world, all comes from desiring others to be happy. And whatever suffering there is in this world, all comes from desiring myself to be happy. So that's the summary. So we have talked about in detail particulars, how fear, all this wealth, fame, respect, all this, how this comes, and contrary to that, how the self-cherishing attitudes results in all these unwanted, unpleasant experiences. So this is one way to do meditation. Sit down, recite this, contemplate on this, and then really examine. As I mentioned earlier, bring to your mind, recall any incidents, unpleasant incidents. For instance, an argument with somebody, and then dissect that argument and go deeper, analyze deeper. And where did all this stem from? I'm pretty sure that it all stems from your ego. That is from self-cherishing attitude. And then I like this stanza, which is my favorite. 마음도 쉐다 지시고 지바랑기 튼제다 도버생기 튼자바 되니기니 캬바르듯. But what need is there to say much more? The childish work for their own benefit. The childish, so here is like the fools. That's us. The fools work for their own benefits. The Buddhas work for the benefit of others. Just look at the difference between them. So I have repeatedly mentioned this, and I like this stanza very much. As I mentioned before, that Buddha Shakyamuni, whom we revere so much, whom we now view as our teacher, supreme teacher. Shakyamuni Buddha was one time like us. He was flawed. He committed all kinds of non-virtue. He was selfish. No consideration for others. But there was a time where he realized that that is not the way to secure lasting happiness for oneself. The only way to secure happiness for oneself is swapping this, exchanging this, changing our attitude. We thought that if we put so much emphasis on ourselves, if we cherish so much for ourselves, if we just prioritize our interests, we thought that I will be happier, I will achieve lasting happiness. But Shantideva is saying that's not right. And Buddha realized that that was not the right way. And then Buddha practiced in this exchange. Instead of cherishing oneself, Buddha started to cherish others. And that led to something else, and then something like that, and eventually Buddha became Buddha. Shakyamuni Buddha became Shakyamuni Buddha. And he became the object of reverence. He became the object of refuge. And look at us. For countless eons, we have been working incessantly, working non-stop to secure this happiness, this lasting happiness, end to suffering. But we are still in the midst of suffering. It is all because that our emphasis was wrong. Our priority was wrong, wrongly placed. So this is very clear. So no need to reason so much. Just look at the difference. You have here Buddha, you have here those fools, sentient beings who are still struggling, and they think that they are doing something doing important. So that's the final stanza that comes into a particular heading. So from here onwards is a new subheading. So I don't want to go. Oh, it's already 11:21. Okay, let me end with this. This is a stanza by 5th Dalai Lama. Rangla jebar zembe lo dorne nölen pemben jebe dimigi dönye lunje rube pende ko chikjer jebe kesan dimme chungs, with the key that renounces the self-cherishing mind and repays harm with kindness. Fortune to unlock the doors to joy and happiness that accomplishes the two goals is marvelous. So what 5th Dalai Lama is saying here, that we are so fortunate to have found this key that will unlock the door to, here it says, basically it's saying that unlock the door to get to enlightenment. So when we become Buddha, we have fulfilled the two goals, our own interest or our own goal, and the goal for others' goal. So main goal, of course, as a Bodhisattva, is to liberate others. So when we become Buddha, so we have kind of achieved that ability, and of course it takes time. So the key that unlocks that door is this practice, the practice of exchanging with others. The key that renounces the self-cherishing attitude, which is the source of all our problems, and then the attitude that repays harm with kindness is so precious. The normal tendency is to retribute, to avenge the harms done to you. But here, because of this attitude, this attitude enables us to repay harm with kindness, repay harm with benefits. So it is such a fortune, it is so fortunate to have this opportunity, to have this key. So we have the key now. Whether you use it to unlock or not is up to us. Shantideva has handed us the keys and told us that if you open the door, if you open that lock, you will find Buddhahood there. So it's up to us. So let's see, during this 1 month summer break, try to open this, use this key, and see what you find inside. Thank you. Let's dedicate. Dagi jinye zabe jawa de tendan jowa kunla kangben dan kyawara chizun losan tawa ye tembe nyingbo ringdu seje sho jambe bayu chedare kemba da Gundu zambo deyan dejen do deda gungen jesu talo jen jawa deda tamje rabdo ngo dezon jebe jawa tamje je ngo kanla chodo ngabat Dagi jebe zawan de gunjan zambo jeje rabdo ngo bara jis. Thank you.